Many of us have major milestones that we're working towards. Maybe you're working on an outfit to wear at the next Frogtails event, or you're trying to adopt a dog, or maybe you're trying to figure out what you're going to do on your next vacation. What all of these milestones have in common is that you have a bunch of tasks that you need to get done in order to meet a project goal. This can be kind of daunting, but don't worry. Today I'm going to teach you an easy technique that'll help you do hard things. Today I'm going to be talking about workback schedules and how to go about creating them. Creating a workback schedule is a technique where you start from the project deadline and work your way backwards, mapping all of the different tasks that you need to do in order to hit your project goals. This is a great technique to use on projects that have a fixed date. I find that the act of creating this workback schedule gives me a great overview of how much time I actually have versus all of the things that I need to get done. It also helps me understand if I've set an unrealistic due date for my project or if my project is too complicated to do within the time that I have available. A workback schedule isn't just something that you'll create during the planning phase of your project. You'll also find it very useful when it comes to the day-to-day execution, i.e. when you're carrying out all of the tasks in your project. Each task in a workback schedule will have its own due date, which you'll determine as you start to create said schedule, as I'll show you later on in this video. As I make my way through a workback schedule, I can see if I'm on track by periodically reviewing my task list. If any of the tasks are overdue, i.e. I did not get them done by said due date, then it just means I'm behind. There's no ambiguity involved here. It's very clear how far I've gone in the project and how much further I need to go before I meet my deadline. Furthermore, understanding whether I'm on track or not helps me look forward, look at my upcoming weeks and see if I need to make any more adjustments to my workload in order to hit my deadlines. Let's move over to the computer now so I can show you the steps to create a workback schedule. Today, I'm creating a workback schedule so that I can sew an outfit for the San Francisco Frogtails event that's coming up in May. I'm going to be using Miro to create my schedule. Miro is an online whiteboarding tool that you can create, I believe, up to 3 projects for free. Of course, you don't have to use Miro. I've used Notion in the past to some degree of success. Google Sheets is great as well, Trello, Excel, and of course, if you'd like to go the old-fashioned route, Post-it notes work really well too. I want to recreate the 2-piece suit that Pedro Pascal wore to his Hot Ones interview. I'm particularly drawn to this suit because it's a great mix of, not too formal, but still put together, something that I think I can rewear given how casual the overall vibe in SoCal is where I am based. Here's what an empty workback schedule looks like before any of the tasks that I need to do are put into this. I like to split mine by weeks because personally, during the duration of a week, I have a lot of ups and downs. Sometimes I'm really productive, sometimes I'm not. I find it easiest to have one single deadline at the end of a week. You can choose to split it up as days, any smaller increments, or any bigger increments, whatever makes sense to you. Maybe weeks is just the best place to start. See what works for you, tinker around with it. That's the best part about making a process work for you. The first step in this process is to start brainstorming all of the different tasks you will need to complete in order to get your project complete. I won't lie, this part can be very difficult, especially if you're trying to attempt something you've never done. My recommendation is Google it. I'm pretty sure people out there have done something similar to what you're trying to achieve, or try to learn from others who are more knowledgeable in the area than you are. In terms of how detailed you have to be or how not detailed you have to be when you create these tasks, some of the questions I found that have been helpful is to ask yourself, do you need more granularity in your tasks to stay on track? Meaning, do you need to micromanage yourself a bit more to see where you are going to make sure you're making progress? Another good one that I find is, do you need more granularity in your tasks because you've never done this project before? You need to list out all the steps to make sure you actually get everything done. Have a think about it, ruminate on it some more, but time box the amount of time you're spending listing out all these tasks. We're going to spend a little bit of time in the next step reviewing all of these and breaking down any large and unclear tasks. I'm gonna now list out all of the different tasks I need to do in order to sew my Pedro suit. Then we're gonna regroup and I'm gonna see if I need to break down any of my tasks, make any changes, and so on. The next step in this process is to review your task list to see if anything feels unclear or if anything needs to be broken down further into smaller tasks. As I just typed all of these on the spot, there are obviously things that fall into these two categories. So let's pick out this make jacket toile. Making a jacket toile, as many of you sewists who are tuning in today probably know, there are a lot more steps than just simply making it, right? If I'm really gonna sit down and rack my brains through it, making a jacket toile has several different steps. You might make the initial toile, fit it, make changes to the pattern pieces, and then you might choose to make several additional toiles. Maybe perhaps this one single task actually needs to be broken down further, and I'm gonna do that right now. And there you go. This is a full list of all the different tasks that started from just make jacket toile, and as you can see, it's actually a lot more complicated than I first thought it to be. I like to break down the more complicated steps like this as much as I can because it makes it easier to track. The tasks look a lot less daunting for me to start and finish, and fitting is just far less straightforward than making the damn thing later on. An optional step that you might want to do as you create your task list and review all of it is to mark down any interdependencies between these tasks. In order for me to start making a toile, if I don't have muslin fabric at home, I might actually choose to buy the fabric first before I start to make my jacket. So here you can use the arrow tool and connect these two. I don't normally do this because I don't want to spend too much time planning. I like to just dive into doing. But again, this might be helpful for projects that are in a completely new realm for you. Also, as you create your task list, you will need to find a balance between too many tasks versus too little. This will get easier to figure out that sweet spot when you do this exercise more often. I went ahead and created my task list offline. Once you have a full list of tasks like I have right here, you can start slotting them into each week or each day or whatever time increment that you decided to go for. The first week I have here is, I believe this is next Friday. So some of the things I want to do by next Friday is, pre-treat my fabric. I think I need to buy a toile fabric unless I'm going to make a wearable toile. I'm going to start hacking away at the Ilford jacket, make those pattern pieces for the hack, and I'm just going to keep doing this for every subsequent week. I think I'll spend the week after making the jacket toile. Figuring out how much you can do in each time increment comes with experience. My suggestion is just take a best guess right now. Here's an example. If you work a corporate 9-to-5 job and it's very grueling and you're left with very little mental energy at the end of the day, don't put 10 tasks for yourself. I'm pretty sure that's not doable, even if those tasks are very granular. I would even guess give yourself some grace. Do 1 to 3 tasks every day at the end of a workday. I recommend checking in at the end of each time increment to see just how many of these tasks you did and then adjust your schedule accordingly. If you did your tasks really quickly and found yourself with a lot of time in your hands, maybe you need to move more of the tasks in a single week. So maybe I need to do 5 here instead of 4 tasks. Or let's say I only completed 1 task here on the first week. Then it means, oh, I'm actually not getting as many things done as I thought I would, and so I might choose to distribute every weekly task accordingly so that I'm being realistic about how much I can really chew. After you slot all the different tasks into your workback schedule, you might find you have this scenario here where I've slotted in everything I think I can realistically do in a month, and I still have a lot of tasks left over. Then the next step here is to start to ask myself, are there any tasks that I can take out of the running? What are really just nice to haves? By asking these questions, what I'm asking is essentially, can I reduce the scope of my project? Can I make it less complicated so that I can get it done in time? If you can see all the individual task labels that I have here, you'll notice that below, the ones that I haven't been able to slot are related to making suit pants that will match my jacket. If I honestly didn't have enough time within the next month, then I would just tell myself, maybe I can't do it. I'm okay with just wearing the suit jacket itself, and I'll just wear whatever pants I have in the closet. Other ways you can reduce your project scope in terms of sewing projects could be fusing, ironing interface instead of pad stitching hair canvas. Or maybe I'm just thinking about something that I did with a friend recently. Maybe it's not needing that additional cape for your fancy dress. There are many ways that you could reduce the amount of work that you need to do, because let's face it, done is better than perfect. You can always revisit your project later when you have more time. Another thing that I could ask myself is whether or not I can take on more tasks per increment. Maybe instead of doing 3 to 5 tasks a week, I can actually do far more than that. Maybe I can do 10. Of course, easier said than done. If I wanted to take on 10 tasks a week as opposed to 3 to 5, maybe I need to do things like stop YouTubing, stop drawing my comics for a whole month, throw myself into this suit making. You can see that it can be quite extreme trying to get more done than you realistically could. It's best to just err on the side of caution, have less to do as opposed to more. The last thing that you could ask yourself is your deadline truly and utterly fixed? SF Frogtails is an event whose date is out of my control. I can't do anything about it. I have to absolutely get something done by that day. However, going back to my previous example, if you are looking to adopt a dog, you've got so many things to do, but you're still juggling a full-time job, you can't possibly be prepared for a dog by, I don't know, let's go with the same date here, beginning of May. In that case, since that's in your control, maybe you're going to choose to push it out. Maybe you need an additional month to get ready for the dog. So again, it really depends on your project here, whether or not you can push out that deadline. I know I said in the beginning that this was best for projects with fixed deadlines, but you never know, you might have some leeway there. I also wanted to show you the exact opposite situation where here in my workback schedule, I have way less tasks than I have time. Let's say I'm a sewing whiz. I sew much faster than I currently do now, and I could totally get a suit done within the time frame with 3 days to spare on that last week of May the 3rd. I have 2 choices here. The first one is life happens, keep that extra week as a buffer. I highly recommend having that buffer if you're not certain that you will finish your project on time, or even if you want to account for potential weeks where you have less energy. Another choice that you can go for, what's the extra frosting that you can add to your sewing project? In my project's case, it could be quickly sewing up a Paper Theory Alya shirt. It's a pattern that I've done before. I know it fits. I don't have to go through all the different things. I can just directly cut into the shirt fabric, and it probably wouldn't take me more than 3 days to get done. After all of that hard work, you should end up with a workback schedule like what I have here. I have a clear list of tasks that need to be done each week. In the first week, I have a lot of purchasing to do, making sure I have all the materials that I need to create the project. I'm also going to take some time to hack the Ilford jacket pattern, which I've already purchased and made in the past, to make that Pedro suit jacket that I showed you earlier in this video. Then next week is when I'm going to try to get all the toiling for the jacket top out of the way. I'm going to be sewing the toile, fitting it, doing that a couple of times, and then finalizing the pattern pieces and also creating the pattern pieces for the jacket lining. Then the week after that, all of my activities are related to the Just Patterns Tatiana pants that I'm going to be making. I'm going to be focusing on creating a toile, doing top down, center out to make sure it fits me, and I'm making any final adjustments to pattern pieces before I get down to business on the week after that. So on the week of 4/22, that's when things start to get fun. I'm going to be cutting into my actual fabric. I'm going to be cutting out all the other final pieces that I need to make my suit jacket and my pants. And because I'm throwing myself into this project, I'll be spending most of that week as well just sewing together the suit jacket. Then the week after that might be a bit exhausted, didn't want to allocate too much of my time into this project because I might need to catch up on my comics. I'm only going to focus on sewing the pants. Last but not least, on the last week here, 5/3, because it's only 3 days and I'm not based in SF, so I'm going to need a pack to go up there and maybe do some last minute arrangements. I'm leaving it blank. It's my buffer week. One thing I want to call out here, and I'm just going to zoom in onto this task, is that when you use software like Miro to create your workback schedule, you get to figuratively cross off tasks as you go. You can see here that I've already purchased suit fabric and notions, so I've marked it as such on my board. If you're using Miro to create your workback schedule, here's how you can do it. So let's say in the time I've been recording this video, I magically went out and purchased 12 fabric through the power of my mind, which I wish I could. You'll want to click this icon that appears in the top right. Go to status right here, click on it, and then you can click on done if you're done. Then you should see the done tag here, and it'll also show up underneath the task right here. So all that's left is now just going through each of the tasks and completing them by the end of each week or each time increment that you chose. In addition to just getting things done, I like to do a quick status check at the end of each week to look back at how it went. I like to ask myself, how am I feeling? Specifically, did I overexert myself to hit my deadlines, or did I spend most of the time twiddling my thumbs? Then I also like to ask myself, do I have any tasks that I need to carry over to the next week because it wasn't done? These questions help me understand if I need to go back to my schedule and move tasks around, if I need to add more tasks because I'm zooming through them, or if I need to remove existing tasks because my project is too complicated and I need to reduce my scope to meet my deadline. This status check is also a great practice for all my fellow overachievers out there. Acknowledging how much you've done is great, helps you slow down, really appreciate your hard work, instead of feeling like, at least for me anyway, feeling like I'm in a never-ending cycle of work and barreling towards burnout. So there you have it, a workback schedule for a sewing project. As I said earlier, this technique is really great for projects with fixed due dates, but maybe the scope is a bit more flexible. Consider using this technique for any projects that you have that meet those two criteria. And if you do, please let me know how it goes. I'm really excited to see what you thought of it. And if you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.